Hello, I'm Richard Vobes, the Bald Explorer, and I'm out on another walk. And I'm on my knees, which is a bit strange. I'm by Woodcroft Close in Billingshurst in West Sussex. And I'm just taking a little stroll down this very impressive and nice, if that's your cup of tea, estate here, just south of Billingshurst. And the reason I'm doing this is because one of my listeners said to me, did you know that there was in Sussex a prisoner of war camp? And I thought, no, I didn't really know that. And he said, oh yeah, there's a prisoner of war working camp and it's just south of Billingshurst. And actually, if I just take the camera around here so you can see one of the houses behind me, I'm walking in it. He said it's near Dorks Wood. Well, Dorks Wood is that wood just there. I'll go and have a look at the wood itself in a minute, because in many ways that's going to be, for me, a bit more interesting. But these are new build houses that have just been slung up in the last few, well, the last year or so, I suppose. Very nice little estate. Lots of people living here. Little fence, which is interesting. Little fenced off garden, which is all very nice. They're all very similar. But what you could say, and what perhaps the people here don't realise, is this is the site of a prisoner of war working camp from 3rd of August 1945, when it opened, almost at the end of the Second World War. And stationed here were roughly 900 prisoners of war. Let's take a little look round this corner and see what we see. Now, of course, the barbed wire has gone. The watchtowers have gone, the armed guards have gone, the vans taking people out have gone. Everything that was be associated with the prisoner of war camp has vanished. But this is, it's not hollowed ground as such, but it's a historical site. Something of significance had happened here, and it's fascinating to be walking through it, and you just wonder how many of these executives, is this executive housing? How many of these people actually know that this was a pretty miserable site 80 years ago? Let's go and have a look in the woods, where I'm sure all these lovely people here walk their dogs. This is not quite as well kept as the clean, pristine road that I've just been in, but of course it's a lot more natural. I'm walking through Dorks Wood. Dorks is spelt D-A-U-X, and it's running parallel to the houses that I've just been looking at. They'd be to my right, just on this side. I'm going to go through this, where this tree has tumbled down. It's a pathway that leads through this, this woodland. And of course what I would have seen if I had been, it's a bit muddy actually, if I'd been coming here in 1945, I would have seen a prisoner of war camp just on the other side of these trees. It's almost hard to believe. Number 49 prisoner of war working camp. These would have been, well, the Germans that had been caught, obviously, and anybody else who was working under the Nazi regime. Up and down the land we had these prisoner of war working camps, number 49 had its main hub here, but there were other smaller outlying camps as part of it. One at Warning Camp and one at Sompting. They were billeted in huts, had the barbed wire and the watchtowers, as you sort of kind of visualise from the war films, and they were kept here, taken off to farms, taken out to mend roads, to do basically all the sort of work that needed to be doing towards the end of the war. But what I found quite fascinating, I don't know if I can get through all of this. This is the most squelchiest mud I've seen for a while. Luckily there's a fence to hold on to and a little wooden bridge here. Just gingerly go across this. There we go. What I found fascinating is, and I didn't realise this, I hadn't really thought about this, was this camp that was opened on the 3rd of August 1945 was right at the end of the war, and that prisoners of wars were working the land, waiting to be repatriated back to their homeland. But this took several years. The hostilities were over, but they were still captive. We were paying them. We paid them an amazing sum of £1 a week for a 48-hour week, I was reading, and they were complaining of the terrible conditions that the camp was in. Apparently the inmates were, or the prisoners, were screened for their pro-Nazi status. I don't know whether they got any privilege if they were not so pro-Nazi, if they were more open to democracy and not the sort of fascist way. I don't know, but there was a lot of dissatisfaction, I do know that, from the camp reading about it. It was a miserable place. There were obviously lots of embitterments. I think in 1946, a year after the end of the war, there were still 402,000 prisoners of war still under effectively lock and key, unable to go home. And in fact, the last of the prisoners of war, I read, didn't get repatriated until 1948. That's amazing amount of time to be stuck in a country, considering probably most of those young men who had been captured didn't, may have not wanted to come to battle in the first place, having been conscripted in. Well, anyway, I've just walked through all this mud and slurry and these leaves past some what look like some nice old oak trees. It's getting a bit impassable here. I need to get some better Wellingtons for these walks. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed my little stroll. It is incredible to think that what was once a prisoner of war camp is now a luxurious and expensive estate that perhaps people of a certain high financial bracket can stay on. 'Tis ever thus, it seems. Join me again for another walk, and I'll take you somewhere hopefully interesting or surprising. Until then, bye for now, and make my way back through the mud.